keep the distance, but make sure that one of the parties, and even after you list, I mean, I've seen situations where, they're really great and amicable in the beginning, and then the person that lives in the house that isn't paying anything because the other party has to pay, and they're dragging it out with an attorney because they're not really ready to leave yet because they want to have the kids finish school that year in that school district, and showings are not being allowed. So now it becomes a problem where the showings are not being allowed. So what do? If you tell the other side the showings are not being allowed, then you're sort of playing into him and giving him information that he can use against her. And in hers, she may say, well, he didn't pay child support, so I'm not in any hurry. This is all I have, and without child support, I can't afford to pay rent. So it gets very, very muddy. But the only thing we can do as agents is make sure that we keep them both updated. And I would strongly, even some of them, you can't even send them emails on the same email string. Okay. I've been
Carol,
there.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
This is Terry.
Hi, Terry.
Hi. It is true. Sometimes you can't, and it's, I think it's good to inform both sides, but when it becomes an issue like that, whichever party is working well with you, I would suggest to them, speak to your attorney, get your ex and his attorney to sign a statement saying that, yes, we will, however the agreement is to work out so that you can proceed, because you're right, there's nothing you can do if they're going to stall. And in some states, if they both don't sign, there's nothing you can do. But I would involve their attorneys, because now it becomes their problem. It hurts their bottom dollar because the attorney's charging them.
Well, that's the next step. If you find that you are up against a brick wall and you can't make sense with either one, the problem once you advise them to go to their attorney, I would advise that both of them at that point in time and say, look, until your attorneys and you can make a resolution on how to move forward, my hands are tied. I can't move forward. Because if you tell one to go and you don't tell the other one to go, you're back to the same thing. So, and what I have found a lot of times is one party has to pay the legal fees of the other party. That's what they're suing for too, especially in an unequal income kind of situation. So you have one that may be real quick to run to their attorney because they're not running up that bill. And then you have the other one that's like, I really just want to get this done. Every time she picks up the phone and talks, or he picks up the phone and talks to my attorney, it's costing me money. So there's that fine line. Yes, we never want to practice law. We never want to interpret law. This is where realtors don't just sell houses. Realtors become counselors and confidants and listeners and all that kind of stuff. But remember, try to listen and try to make sure that you do not step over the bounds and make any one party feel that you are more on their side. Although you may be, it doesn't take long to figure out why the divorce is happening. And it doesn't take long to figure out which party it is, because I always say there's three sides to a story: his, hers, and in the middle is somewhere the truth. So with that being said, when you're working with both parties, and that's why I say to talk to both parties, because if you're only getting what's relayed via the one party that you're contacting and the other party is the one that's holding everything up, could you see and empathize that maybe, that realtor is not talking to me, I'm part owner of that house too. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a great piece, Terry. So typically, if the house has been listed before, you don't need to go out and take a curb appeal. I still like to do that just to get a feel for the house and exactly where it is. I know that's probably old school with me, but I want to see the house. I might look at the pictures in the MLS, and when I pull up the house next door, it's boarded up or has 10 dogs barking. So I always try to do a ride-by of the subject property if when at all possible. And then you're going to get the information about the public schools, and we can get all that stuff really easy. So this is a very comprehensive, like I said, you may do many of them, you don't have to do all of them, but some listings you will do, some more than others, depending on the situation of the listing. So now you have your listing appointment presentation. There are a lot of different ways to prepare your presentation. In Command, there is a listing presentation. There is even a pre-listing worksheet, okay? It presents a pre-listing presentation where you can put some things in. I think it's great to wet their whistle a little bit, but if you give them everything, then there's no reason to get face-to-face or Zoom to Zoom, okay? So I try not to give them all the information. There's other people of the same, their persuasion and their way of doing business is, I want to put it out there because if the numbers don't work for them, then there's no need for me to go any further. So it depends, but to me, the way they're going to interpret the numbers, let's face it, they're not going to listen to the presentation on why this listing is sold for this and why that one and how it's different in your property. They're only going to go to the last page where you put your suggested value range, and they're going to stay right there. And that's all they're going to look at. And you may have 15 or 20 other pages of supporting documents. How many people agree with that? Can you see people doing that? I absolutely can. So this is your presentation. This is your time to shine. This is your time to continue to cultivate your relationship. Then after the listing is signed, you're going to do all these things to prepare it. Another thing too is, and even more so now, it's something that I'm thinking about, is I know typically we don't ask much about mortgage information and what the balance is on their mortgages and if they are current. We just assume that. Because in the past several years, that hasn't been an issue unless something they said in the beginning made you think that way. But I think with this new COVID-19, all these deferments and forbearances and things like that, I can see in the next several months, you may start hearing from people wanting to list their properties because they realize now they're going to have to make up those forbearance paperwork, or they're going to go into a loan modification, and they're not sure if they're going to stay or not, okay, when things start working out. And I think it's an important thing to think of, to just say you're working up their proceed sheet, and always say their estimated proceed sheet. You'll get one from the closing attorney when we get closer to, but this is a very basic one. And I would say to them, are you with your mortgage? And do you have your most recent statement? And the reason why I asked for the most recent statement is the attorney always wants to have the information anyway. And when I look at the recent statement, I can see if there's a shortage on their escrow account. I can see if there will be a forbearance. I can actually look at their principal amount. And typically what number I use for figuring out the preliminary is I take their current principal balance and add the month's future 1 month of mortgage payment onto that to just give me a ballpark. Now, when you're looking at it, if you see there's an escrow shortage and you see that they're delinquent several months, then you're going to have to add more than that and actually figure that out a little bit more. But for generic purposes, I always look at the statement, and it has saved many deals because you're already preparing the seller. This may be this, because in your mind, if you ask them how much do they owe, they're probably going to give you the principal amount. Problem is, if it's an FHA or VA loan, the full interest, when you go into May 1, that full interest amount is added on to the payoff. So when you can't just look at the principal balance now, you have to see what the other things are. So I always look at the statement myself and make my determination for my number that I put on there for the preliminary proceed sheet, and I always have them sign it so that when the time comes that we have an offer and they say, well, I didn't know about this and I didn't know about that and I didn't know I had to pay a transfer tax, you can pull that out and say, well, it was part of in the beginning when we worked up your numbers and when we knew what we were going.
Carol,
Yes.
in Maryland, we have the financial condition of property disclosure
Right.
for the seller to fill.
Okay.
So we know how much that they owe.
Okay. So, but that's based on what their interpretation is of the statement, right? Of their mortgage
Yes.
statement.
Yeah.
So if you don't actually have that mortgage statement, their
Right.
interpretation could be less.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we working on like how much is the net.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So
we
when they
working
fill that out, it's like anything else. It's like a computer, garbage in, garbage out. Paperwork, if we assume what they're putting in is correct and we move forward with that information, but it's correct according to their interpretation, but the reality is it's not. If you had a statement to back it up, it would help you to really look at it and see and have a better feel.
So do you think that we should ask for the statement from the bank that how much that they owe? Or
I always do. I always just ask the homeowner, say, look, I like to keep my file complete and I want to make sure when we talk numbers, and even more importantly, I want to make sure when we get an offer and I want to see what your net is going to be. And you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you're planning on having $35,000 come out of this. I want to make sure that your numbers are right, that you get $35,000 to move to the next house, and this also prepares so that I can get it for the closing attorney. Now in Maryland, title companies do your closing, right? Yeah. I had my Maryland license several years ago and I let it go and I'm in the process of getting it back again. Then I'll have Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. So, and each one is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that's,
Carol,
yes.
Alicia again. I
Yes.
recently had a scenario where I did everything you just said with absence of asking for the statement, but the client had, she had called her bank and got the payoff. I don't really know what went awry, but she went from having a $29,000 estimate net to coming to the table with $4,000. She had a second lien and a third lien. And
Okay.
one of the liens was from, I guess, when she had a loan modification or something with the bankruptcy. It was really convoluted. The other lien was with a first-time home buyer grant that she thought that she didn't have to pay it back. So I'm just finding that, you just really have to dig. You have to ask, is there a second or a third mortgage on this house? And some of them still say no.
Well, some of them don't really understand. Here's
Yeah.
the thing with that situation. Most of them, when they get their grants from the state, many of those are forgivable after a certain amount of time. But if they sell before that time, then it's not forgivable, and the state does have a lien on it.
Yeah.
Well,
this house was well past that window of time, maybe 10 or 15 years past that time. But I guess it was one of those that she still had to pay it back. So
yeah. And there's no way of us knowing that. That's where the title companies and the closing attorneys, that's why I like to use an attorney that does their searches as soon as I submit the file. Some people are under the opinion that, I don't order title or anything like that until I know that everything's ready to go.
Okay.
When I put a contract together, I order the title right away, or I want the title ordered right away, because a lot of people, they don't realize is they have home equity loans. And when you ask them if they have a second mortgage, they say no. And for two reasons. Number one, they don't consider the credit line a lien against their property.
Okay.
But more so, a lot of them don't owe anything on the credit lines. They may have put them against the property 10 years ago, but it's still against the property. And the only way to get that release is you need to have a release sent from that lender. The closing attorney will need to get something to clear title. And clearing title is a very specific way of doing it, and just having a piece of paper doesn't do it. You're going to run into other things. You could run into a closing where the buyer, the seller that he bought it from, the seller before that had a mortgage and somehow it never got released from title. So now when a new title is pulled up, it's still showing a mortgage from 15, 20, 30 years ago. That's a nightmare. Nightmare.
Yeah.
And I've worked with banks where the banks actually closed down, but you have to go to Washington, D.C., and there's a whole lot of system of getting that done. So what I'm trying to do is just give you guys some very broad information of what realtors do. I want to get through this because I do have to get through the Ignite class. What is it, 10:30? So I'm going to move through this a little bit further. I think this would be another class that we can do and really break it down. I would love to have some experienced agents that have done business like Alicia coming in and bringing in her situations, because that's what helps everybody. Now here's some things like when you're there, they're telling you to get 12 months bills. One of our forms in Command or DocuSign has that they can fill out and things like that. But also, I want to make sure in Delaware you talk to them about their HOA. Then you're going to enter it into the database. Everything's signed, you're entering into the MLS. Then you're going to mark it. Always under promise and over deliver. When the honeymoon of a listing starts, you're going to do this, that, the other thing, blah, 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 blah. You get the listing and you get busy with another listing, you get busy with a buyer, you get busy with some classes, whatever it is, and you miss these dates and these outlines. I always say, have an outline that you use to tell the seller, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then at the end of the week, send them it's in the MLS. Here's a copy of the printout. Let me know if there's any remark changes that you would like. Here's this, here's that. I did this. I ordered postcards. I have the photographer coming next Tuesday. All those things so that they see that you are involved. I think it's great with Showing Time how the feedback goes right out to the sellers. The only problem is sometimes the feedback isn't really nice, and some agents don't really put it in a very, smooth way. So when you see something like that, I would always try to be proactive in it instead of reactive. And I would call the seller and say, look, I know the showing the other day and they said this, that, or the other thing. It may even be something that you've been working with and telling the seller they needed to fix. But at least if you call them and soften it, they won't be sitting there by themselves reading that and having that reaction and not getting some kind of feedback from their agent. Offers, how to present offers, what you're going to look for, what you need from the other agent before you even present an offer. Following up on the offer, tracking the loan process. I personally use a transaction coordinator. I've always have. I'm big about leveraging and getting the right people on my team to do the things that I need done so that I can do the other things that I like to do or I need to do that is better time management. Home inspection, how we're going to negotiate a home inspection, the appraisal, closing, preparing for that. And remember, this is extremely comprehensive, but it's also across the country. So some of these things may or may not need to be cleaned up, but sometimes I think it may be not necessarily what is done around here, but it may, if you thought about it, be something that you would want to add into it. So I'm going to share this with you guys after the meeting, okay? Any questions? Alicia, what do you do on a listing that makes you feel that it really makes you feel like you're doing a great job?
Well, wow. Thank you for the question. I don't feel adequate to answer that. I work with way more buyers than I do sellers. And I am advancing to the place where I can work with more sellers. But I do 2 different appointments, Carol. So I, have the phone conversation with the seller and book the appointment immediately. I'm like over there like the same day or the next day to see the house. And I want to see the house because this is just my little thinking. I may look and see what's been sold already, but I don't know if this person has granite countertops versus the other house did, or if they've put down new flooring, or there may be a hole somewhere in the ceiling and I don't know. So I feel like certain things do affect the pricing. So I actually want to see the house and I want to meet the person. I like touchy-feely. I want to talk to them on their living room couch. I want to build the rapport in person.
Right.
I understand that's risky from taking bold. A lot of agents said, oh, they could be interviewing other people. You'll lose the listing. But I mean, that's the way I do it. I do, 2 appointments. So the first appointment, I'm asking all those questions that I'm, want to know the why and the how. Then I explain how I work and what they can expect from me. And then I go back and do my pricing, and then I come and do a full presentation. And I find that has worked, that they feel comfortable with me, that they mention other agents don't do that. They see how I've come up with my pricing, that I've taken my time, and then I use professional photography. And then that's pretty much it. Like most of the listings I've gotten have sold quickly because of the market. And then, of course, I have those hard to sell listings,
Right.
that I have to call people every week with bad news. So that's pretty much my approach. And I find that, should the person agree to the pricing, that system works pretty well. I struggle when the person doesn't agree with the pricing and I still take the listing. And I want to get out of doing that because that's just not a happy experience for me.
No, it's not. And you're working harder. And when that name comes up on your phone when they're calling you, and they don't want to hear a word you say, they just have in their mind. So, and again, it's easier to walk away from that kind of listing if you have 10 others.
Yeah, and I don't have 10 others, so.
Right. So when you don't have the others to fall back on, it's the same with the buyer. You showed a buyer 35 homes and they still haven't even said one was really exciting, then you now you get caught up with, oh my God, I showed them 35 houses. Maybe the next one I show them will be the one. You're not getting any feedback. If you had more buyers, you would not be showing 35 homes. You would set your limit. This is where what your value is and your value proposition. This is where you have to set your value and what you want from yourself. And again, getting back, without beating a dead horse, if we get back to working our database and working it regularly and making 10 contacts a day and keeping our command healthy, and those kind of things will follow through. And then when you need to, fill in some holes, do an open house, once a month, something like that, that gives you more personal interaction. I see you, Alicia, as somebody that really, once they get in front of you or even on the phone, you're going to make it happen. Okay. So everybody has to get to that point. But again, what makes people great in this business is that they are always open to hearing other people and how they do it. But the other part is, like I can tell you, I probably say this every time we have a class, the beauty that I find in real estate is it's very wide open as to what you can do and what you shouldn't do. But what you shouldn't do is very small. And you have the right to develop the plans that work best with you and get the results with you and fit your personality. So when people tell you and they're sharing with you, and let's face it, we have a lot of amazing agents in this company, and they all want to share what works for them. So what works for them may not work for you. 10 of the things work for you, and maybe the other 5 don't. But when we are always in a learning mindset and we are listening to other people, I get so much from you people when you bring me things. I get so much when I see that light bulb lights up in somebody's eyes when I say something that really connects. I see when I have agents that have been in the business a long time, but they don't sit back and say, well, I've been doing this 30 plus years. There's nothing new that I can learn. When those kind of people come in and they're learning and they're willing to put themselves out there and open their eyes to other things and new things, that's what makes this business awesome. So with that being said, I'm going to close out this. I will send you all an email. So let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Hey, Carol,
7, 8,
quick
10, 11.
question.
Yes.
I had this experience in California. Do realtors here, okay, out there, when you had an unrealistic, as a seller, idea of a price in mind, I had a realtor say, and she did this regularly, after so much time, she would drop the price by so much if it hadn't sold. She was willing to set it at whatever price we chose, but you know, if it didn't sell in, I don't remember what her time frame was, but they start marking the price down consistently, like once a month. Right. They would drop it if it didn't sell. Does that work out here too?
Some agents do that, Terry. My perspective on that is that's an agent that wants the listing and is willing to take it under the terms of the seller, but they want to get the seller in the mindset that there's probably going to be price adjustments, and sometimes they get them to sign the actual adjustments and the dates that they're going to be adjusted if there's this, that, and the other thing. Some of them leave it very open-ended. I think depending on if it's a great listing and I want to sign in there and it's a farm area that I've been working, and that's what I have to do to make it happen, yes. It's not something that I typically propose unless it's a listing I really, really want. You know, and I find a lot of times it's the lower priced homes where the people really need more money out of them that you have the difficulty with, and making them realize and think of this purely as a dollar for dollar situation and not about it being a personal affront to your home. That's what they have a hard time with.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
And I think, I'm not sure if they have a form in DocuSign that says that is set up for the adjustments on the price changes. But down at the bottom of the listing, you can always add that in on fourth. If you know, if there's less than 10 showings by 4:30, we're going to reduce it too. But you need to be specific and not very open-ended. Just saying, if there's no offer in 30 days, we're going to reduce the price. We're going to reduce the price to what? You know?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, specific.
Yeah, so you got to be specific. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing this, and now I'm going to go to our PowerPoint. Does anybody have any other questions on what we were doing here? Okay. Oh, wow, as I talk, it's typing. I don't think I want that. Okay. Okay. You guys tired of seeing this every time we get together? Oh my gosh, why is it doing that? Can't see nothing. You're not seeing it? No. Okay. Hold on a minute, because it's every time I'm talking, it's typing it at the bottom. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I don't know why this is typing this stuff at the bottom. They keep changing the format on these PowerPoint presentations, and then I get totally messed up. I'm not seeing where I can take it off. Maybe this will work. You can't, you're not seeing it type now, right? All right. Anybody getting tired of seeing this? Grow your business and run your business, the two different things, right? Every time we get together, we talk about it. So today, we are going to define your value. If you are not comfortable in your own skin on what your value is, you will never be able to relay that to someone else, which is why I wanted to do that little exercise in the beginning to show you as a realtor the things that you do. And let's face it, you do those things, the majority of those things, whether a house is priced at 100,000 or 1 million, okay? Of course, your photography may be different, your brochures may be different, but in the whole scheme of things, it's the same. So you know your value and you know what you do and what you do well. So your main objective is to know your value and project that to your customers and your clients. So with that being said, there are 3 aspects of your value. And then what you have to do is you have to be able to describe it. And then, and the more you put this in writing, the better it will be for you. And then after you put it in writing, I want to be able to talk with you about it. I want you to have some points, okay? So we will work on that together. And then you have to clearly convey what you will do to earn the fee you charge. I'm not saying that we have to say, well, look, this is what I do for my 3%, this, and this. But in your presentation, once you own your value, it will come through in your presentation. Okay? Jeff, you've been doing this a long time. Do you have anything to add on that?
Let's see, am I unmuted now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I haven't really digested this, but when you were back on the points, I thought that the evaluation of the legal description from a title curative standpoint is going to be really valuable for everyone.
Thank you. Okay. And that's when you're on a listing presentation, that's what you're putting out there. And let's face it, we're not just doing listing presentations now, we're really doing buyer presentations. And we get a very short time to do a buyer presentation to make them connect to us. So I want you to sit down and do your proposition value based on a buyer and based on a seller. So, and then once you have it in writing and once you can look at it and you can internalize it and make your questions based on your values. And then make your value proposition a covenant between you and your client. So once you put it down, and that's what I do too, is, we are going to do this, and this, so that in our presentation, as we're going through, we touch on each bullet point of what I feel is important. Now, let's face it, I don't change my presentation each time there's a listing appointment. But what we do is we have these bullet points in our presentation, and in speaking to the person and seeing what is important with that person, that's how I adjust which ones I hone in on during the presentation and which ones I move forward and just, skim over. Okay, So knowing the underlying purpose of the real estate profession, which we've already done that. Your value proposition, you have to communicate in a clear sense of how you deliver on that purpose. And if it's not clear to you, it will not be clear to others. So one of the things I would like to work on with you guys is we're going to take a break, and I want you to write down 3 or 4 of your value propositions. And when we get back, I am going to have each one of you bring up a value proposition that you have and how you would talk to a client in relaying that. All right? Fiduciary obligation. Not all states have fiduciary obligations. In Delaware, we're statutory agents. In New Jersey, I know you're fiduciary. In Maryland, I know it used to be fiduciary. Is it still, Alicia?
It's still, yes.
It is? Okay. All right. So we're surrounded. The statutory agent, I kind of like, because it takes a lot of obligation off of us. In the fact that we're not held to the same level that attorneys and things like that are. But in the same token, you pretty much, the roles are very blinded. They're muted. So with that in mind, what is the underlying purpose of real estate? Value proposition. Functionary. That functionary would be statutory in Delaware. Okay. So functionary is you're really just shuffling papers and things like that. We are statutory, which takes it a little bit further, where we are obligated to make sure the interests of our agents, our clients are protected, and that we have, one of the biggest things to me is confidentiality. And sometimes I think agents really forget about that. And it happens a lot of times, not because somebody's trying to do something wrong, but it happens because somebody's trying to do something right and get the transaction together for their clients. And what I mean by that is, you talk to, I've had buyers agents call and tell me, I'm sending you over an offer. It's really, really low. My clients will come up, but just get me a counter. Do you really think that that is a fiduciary way to present an offer to the other side? It's not. We're not allowed to do that. We're not supposed to do that. I've had listing agents tell me, look, you know what? I know that's not going to fly, but if you get it to this, I'm pretty sure I can make it happen. My response is, did your seller, tell you to tell us that? Is that how, do you have a signed contract with your seller to relay this information to me? I don't ask them that, but I sort of do. Because, or how many times have you taken an offer to a listing agent and the listing agent says, well, this is a waste of time. This is never going to fly. Right? Unless he's the owner on that deed, he doesn't have the right to make that determination. I don't know any state that if a written offer is received, that it is not obligated to present it to the seller. So when you're talking, and sometimes too, when you are around the business a lot and a lot of the agents and you talk to somebody, you get on a personal level with them, a lot of times they'll say the same thing to you. Oh, you know what, Carol, you need to come up on this one. I don't mind that necessarily, but again, they don't say that much to me because I never give them numbers. One of my coaching clients, she was talking to somebody and, he kept saying, oh, bring me an offer, bring me an offer, bring me an offer. And she even specifically said, I know this is more than what they're actually qualified for. I'm working with the lender to see if we can get it up, but it's something that's in their neighborhood and they really, really want, if there's any way they can make it happen. And it was a rehab property. And the agent hounded my agent saying, just write the offer, just write the offer. We'll make, and we were saying, no, until we have lender information, because what we have does not qualify them to that number. And he hounded and hounded and hounded. And finally we talked with the lender. The lender said, no, this is the only way we can do it. If you want to present the offer, present it like that. And we called them up and we said, look, it's not going to come in anywhere near what you're looking at. And basically, the offer was very close to what the comps were in the neighborhood. This guy bought the property for about $85,000 in November of last year and did some rehab work, nothing major and extensive, and thinks he should make $135,000 in less than 6 months. So, so let's just think about the mentality of the seller from that. Okay. So we wrote the offer, and first of all, it was the agent's first offer. So it was very stressful trying to write an offer. Secondly, trying to write it via Zoom and DocuSign, being the first deal through DocuSign, and me not being able to actually, and trying to share screens. It was hard. We worked for hours trying to make the documents right and things like that to send it over. I don't think he had it 15 minutes, and she texted me back, offer declined. So what I'm saying to you is, keep your mind focused, have your business proposition, do business your way, know how you do your business, and don't allow others' input to divert you from that unless it's to a better place. And just because you're new or newer in the business, or just because you only have a few years under your belt, do not assume that somebody that has been licensed longer knows more. When people, the real thing that gets me is because when I coach my clients, if some of you guys need that extra help and there's an agent on the other side that's really being very bully-like, I will call them. And I've had them tell me, well, I've been doing this for 15 years. And I say, yeah. And they say, well, I don't know how long you've been around. And I said, well, we want to talk New Jersey? Do we want to talk Delaware? Do you want to talk in real estate completely? And he goes, well, I've just been doing this a long time. I haven't seen, and quite frankly, there's not a listing or a sale in my name in the SCORE MLS, nor even up in New Jersey where we were, because I did not list and sell and did not put anything in my name. So some agents assume that I don't really know. So when agents start off like that, they really get me to another place, but it also just verifies how they treat a new agent. So I'm just saying to you guys, do not allow anybody to do that to you. And if they do, I would be happy to call them. Okay?
Hey, Carol.
Yes.
Yeah, Jeff, it's Jeff. I do have a comment. It sounds like somebody, an agent like that has probably been unsuccessful in getting an offer to the homeowner, so they're bullying the
Exactly.
other
Yeah.
agents.
Exactly. And, agents that aren't doing their job well, or they don't have their value proposition right, and they don't know how to handle it, they have to do other things to make them look better. And they push new agents. You know what? I always embrace new agent. When a new agent calls and says, I have an offer I have to submit, I don't know this, that, or the other thing, I always ask them, don't you have somebody at your office to help you? And if they don't, then I always say, look, you have to remember we work for the seller here, but if I get the paperwork and it's not right, I'm going to send it back to you and tell you need to get this filled out or that filled out. Because let's face it, we are all in this together. And I hope I work with every agent more than once. And if that's the reputation you get from on the outside, is that you are all about ethics and morals and what's right, and you're true to yourself, then it will get out there and you will find it's easier to do business. Because I know when agents pull up listings and they see certain listing agents' names on the listing, if there's 15 to choose from, that will be the 15th house they show, because they know their offers never get presented in the right way. They know even if the offer does get accepted, it's such a horrendous experience going through and dealing with that agent to the closing table. And that's not the kind of reputation you want to get as an agent. That will not allow you may not be long lived in the business if you do that, because you will always be working hard. Because if you have good rapport with our fellow agents, that's what's going to make your job even easier for your clients. Okay? Know and state your value. This is a 2018 file from the National Association. And what it's saying is what buyers really want, 52% of them is to help them find the right home to purchase. Now, with the new world, it's hard to get them to you and embrace them because they are on and they filled something out on one of the internets and they are getting calls from probably 5 to 10 agents, all because of that one time that they filled something out. So you need to get some kind of an idea on how you can connect with those buyers to bring them to where you need to be. So command is one of those big things. Once you connect with them and you say, well, I see you're looking in Bethany Forest, and here's the information on that home, but I could actually send you an update on anything that's actually happening in Bethany Forest and set them up through command for that neighborhood watch. I know we can set them up via Bright and on Concierge, and they would get all the listings of everything as it comes up, but you could have both of them, okay? Because if they are looking in Bethany, do the Concierge for Bethany, but then you could be specific with Bethany Forest because that's where they're looking.
Carol, is there a
Yes.
class? Is there a class specific to that? Because I just feel a little bit lost with command. I've taken the classes that have been offered, but I've never heard a how-to on that, and I would love to get that training.
Yes. What it is it's in your, here's what I've been doing, Alicia, is I've taken all the classes too, and I don't learn well in a classroom where it's put this in here, put this in there. It works great because the person that's moving the mouse around knows where to go to get it. And then when I leave and I sit down, I lose it all. Like, okay, where did I start? So what I've been doing actually is going through the 66-day challenge with command with Marty Miller. And he has videos on YouTube. And they're only about 4 to 5 minutes long. So what I've been doing, and it's really been helpful for me because being a leader here at the company and talking about command, if I don't know how to work it myself, I was not being fair to you guys. So I've been taking this challenge, and what I do is I look at 1 or 2 videos each day, and the videos are short. And they're very specific to one tiny piece of command. But when you start at 1, it builds and builds and builds, because you can't just go right in and learn how to do the neighborhood if your contacts and things aren't marked right, if you don't have custom tabs, because you can do all that kind of stuff. So what I suggest to everybody is to go and do the 66-day command challenge with Marty Miller. All you have to do is go on YouTube, Google, and search for Marty Miller. His 66-day challenge will pop up. Make sure you subscribe to his video. And here's the reason why. As new things come on, he is adding additional videos. So even once you complete this, you'll get an email or you'll get a notification from YouTube that there's a new one to follow up on that. And it takes me, and I can tell you sometimes, like, the videos may only be 4 or 5 minutes, but when I get into command, before I know it, I'm 2-3 hours into it, because one thing leads to another that makes more sense now that I've seen in the class, and now it's making sense, and then it leads to the other. And let's, not for anything, coming out of this quarantine, your databases should be phenomenal. Okay? Because the bottom line is we don't have any traveling time to go to any appointments. So how many hours a day are we saving with that? We are attending training meetings, and I know there's so many training meetings that are offered that it almost is like, which one do I get on first? So we have that. And then you have your calls and you're working your database, because we all know we're doing lead gen 2 hours a day minimum, right? And if your command is right, then your lead gen is going to be even better. And if you're doing these, you'll see how to set them up. And if you go into your smart plans, you'll see there's smart plans set up on how to send the automated emails out and how to send your the different things that go out via smart plans. Okay, they're already set up. They're already set up to task you out for a phone call. So we just got to get into it deeper. And I think it's a kind of thing. I think the classes are great, and I commend the instructors tremendously, because it's a hard subject to teach because it's so specific to each individual. But because of time constraints, it can't really walk you through with your issue. So if you do the videos and then you really get stuck, Sandy Green, you can go right on and schedule a 30-minute one-on-one with her. And Alicia, I think that would probably be a good thing for you to do on this if you have your command up and running somewhat.
Okay, great. And is she also the go-to person for the KW app? Because I've had some challenges with that as well.
She may be able to help you on that. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So if you look on, she has a Calendly link, and you can literally schedule your 30 minutes with her. I always suggest, if you're going to have an appointment with Sandy, is because it's only 30 minutes, that you have your questions in line and you have your computer up and you know you're ready to rock and roll with it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
Hey,
You're
Carol,
welcome.
does Scott Leroy Marketing, do they?
Yes.
Because they've had me in touch with him when I've had trouble with the app, because the app still has glitches.
Yes.
So is his company the one that's doing all the tech?
Yes.
behind
Scott Leroy
the
does
app
a
and
lot
the
of
command and
the
all
tech
that?
stuff. Yeah. Sandy is our in-office person.
Okay.
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 So
Because yeah, I've
Sandy's,
had trouble with the app. It doesn't, right now, it currently doesn't have the headshot.
okay.
But he did
Yeah.
say there are still glitches with the system and they're working on it, but you know,
And that's
they're
something,
working on it.
that's definitely a Scott Leroy question. Sandy's kind of
Okay.
question is more of what Alicia is talking about,
Mhm.
is I have people in command, how can I get these neighborhood reports out to them? And one of the big
Okay.
things about that is how you do it is you need to have their address, okay? If you have anybody that is a potential seller, you need to have their home address in command so that the neighborhood will automatically pop up. Once you add in their address, the neighborhood where they are will pop up as you scroll down that contact info. If it's a buyer, you could put in, it'll say add a neighborhood. You can still put in their address if you want, but then you can put add a neighborhood and then put the specific development that they're looking for. Not all developments are in there, okay? Again, command is not at that 100%, but it's every day it's getting there more and more and more. And I think now with everybody being on it more, you're seeing more of it. But I think, me personally, I was pulled dragging and kicking into it. But I am really transitioning into it. Okay? So in your participant guide, you have all these things about what the buyers want, profiles. Again, this is, I don't know why on a 2020 slide we're getting 2018 information, but who am I? I'm just the messenger. Okay, so with sellers, so this one was what buyers value. And if this is what buyers value, let's face it, you gotta give them what they want. You can't give them what you want. Okay, so you need to adjust your property value to hone in on what it is that they're looking from their agent. And that's the property value that you work on to project to them on how it works. Agent is a friend or family member. Personally, I see a lot of people, I think a friend or family member is the hardest person to work with in the industry. When you are buying or selling a house, being the agent on that for a friend or family member is very, very, very difficult. Number one, for you to take your emotions and caring for the person out of it when you know the other side is not being realistic, and you have to stay in that professional mode. On the other hand, I find a lot of times friends and family members tend not to consider what you really say as you know what you're talking about. Oh, that's just my cousin, you know. I know them since they're 3 years old. They don't pay attention. And here's a perfect example. My dad and mom lived in New Jersey, down near Atlantic City. They had a property, nice property on the water. My dad was in construction, and he knew not only was I an agent, but I owned an office that had 50 agents working for me. You know what he did when he listed the property? He listed it with somebody that's his friend from the, what is it? One of the lodges, Moose Lodge or something like that. And I said, Dad, what are you doing? He goes, well, you know, you're all the way up there and I didn't want to bother. You're talking, this was back in the late 80s. And this house at that time was about a $500,000 listing. So needless to say, I was like, I just don't get it. So then when the guy wasn't doing what he needed to do, because let's face it, this guy was an older guy. He was down in Mystic Islands. It was when all the casinos were really coming in and they thought there was going to get a lot of business coming in. He was working at a small non-franchise office that was just on the island. And I had a Century 21 office at the time. And I said, Dad, don't you understand? Somebody has to know to come to him. He has no exposure outside of Mystic Island for your property. And most people are not going to move from one of the other houses in Mystic Island to yours, because the price range of yours is, you're really at the high end. Well, you know, he's my friend. Oh my gosh. Well, finally he did list it with me and it sold. But if your own parent does that, and I wasn't just an agent, I was a broker owning a company, don't feel bad. So this is what I say, when we all have stories of why things are. And it's a hard thing. So it's this saying that what is it? They're saying 15% of the agents use a friend or a family member. A lot of times that's because they don't know who else to call. And they hear about that. But also, I know I'm teaching you, go into your phone and call your friends and family sphere of influence. That's where the bulk of your business is going to come in the very beginning, because you don't have any book of business. So I just say this so that you don't second guess yourself, but it is what you need to work to try to get your name out there. And maybe not working with them specifically, but maybe somebody that they know that they could refer you to. So it's much bigger than just that individual cousin that you're talking to, because there's nothing worse than going to a wedding and your cousin saying, oh yeah, I just listed my house, I'm selling. So I want you to do that, but I want you to be aware. Okay? Knowledge of the neighborhood. So that's what buyers are looking for. And this is what sellers are looking for. Pricing the home. This is why it's important that you know the market. This is why there's so much preparation to be done properly. And Leisha, like you said, the two-step is the way it used to be a lot of times before. A lot of agents did two-step listings. And the reason why was for the same purpose that you're saying, is they developed a rapport, they came back, they were able to really do their numbers. A lot of agents have gotten away from that, especially agents, you know, in the past several years, because they rely heavily on the internet and Google Earth and all that kind of stuff. I still believe real estate is personal. I still believe that, you know, you're not going to change somebody's personality, and you need to use your personality and use it the best way you do. Okay. So I have something else here to share, if I can get, let's see. I want to get back to my Zoom. I'm going to do a new share, and then we'll have a break, and I'll give you some homework. Before I do, This is just some food for thought that I found when I was preparing for our class. And I was thinking about really about the real estate industry and where it's going to be going next year and with all these things and how people are going to come out. And there's an old saying that as the real estate world goes, so goes the economy. And this is why. So this is specific to Delaware, and I have another one from Maryland. I never let you guys out. Forget about you. But if you look at this, one house in 2019 usually has an impact of $80,900 to the economy. And this is how. You look here. Is everybody seeing this screen? You see the screen?
I see like it's something that looks like an email and a PDF attachment.
Does it say economic impact? No?
2019 state economic impact, and there's a PDF attachment.
Okay,
It's
so
not-
it's not showing it. It's not showing the actual thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's just not pulling up.
okay, so let me see how to do that. New share. How about now? Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see a chart.
Okay, so this is for the state of Delaware. So for one home sale, they are saying it impacts the economy for $80,919. And how does that break down? It's the income generated by from the real estate industries. Now, what does that mean? That means lenders, agents, surveyors, title companies, attorneys, home inspectors, movers, all those different things that are related directly to the real estate transaction. And then they say most people, when they move into a new home, buy some kind of new furniture. They buy new curtains. They buy things to decorate. They do some landscaping. They do some painting, whatever else it is. Then you have housing related expenditures, which is all the other things that go along. You know, the utilities went up because they moved into a bigger house, the cable bill, all the things that are related to housing expenses have more likely increased because most people are moving up. They're not making a lateral move. And then if they bought a new home construction, they're saying by buying new home, there was an additional $41,000 impact. And why that is because a new home is like a blank canvas and they walk in and they have so much to do. And most people that buy new homes buy more furniture. There's an extra bedroom set that's needed and things like that. So when you wonder about what we do, this is what we do. Your lead generation and talking to a client is what makes this company and makes this economy move forward. So if you look here, they assume that the commission's moving expenses or income are about 9% of the median home price. So what they did is they actually took the median home price, and that's how they figured out these numbers. Any questions? Comments? Interesting to anybody?
Definitely helps you see a bigger picture of your role in helping to move the economy. It's rewarding to
Yes.
see.
Yes.
This also is what shows why most states deemed real estate essential. Okay, that's what they looked at. I have one for Maryland. The number was a little bit higher because of the pricing. I will send that out to you all too, okay? All right. Stop the sharing. I am going to just stay on this screen. In your in your participant information, you have your all your stuff, right? Printed out. When we went through these screens, I want to make sure you saw what I did. There's what buyers want, and then there's what buyers value. See how something's different? And likewise on the sellers, what they want and what they value. So what I want you to do is I want you to use these screens, and I want you to come up with 3 things of your personal value proposition. And then we're going to share that when we get back. And since, let's see, time-wise, I think we're doing really well. Okay, it's 11:30. So let me give you a half hour to work on this, because I really want you to think about your value proposition. And then if you want to go get a cup of coffee or you need to walk around a little bit, it'll give you some time. And then when you get back, we'll move forward with the rest. We're going to share. So I want you to be really ready to tell me what your value proposition is, at least one for a buyer and for a seller. And we're going to go through the list, and I'm going to ask you guys to share one or the other. Okay? Any questions?
You want it for both buyer and seller, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right. You all look so thrilled. All right, guys. I'll see you in a little bit. Okay?
Sounds good.
See ya.
Thank you.
Don't leave the meeting. Just stay there. If everybody could mute their computer, please.
Carol,
Yes.
what did I miss? I just stepped out a little bit earlier.
They are working on your buyer's value. If you go to your participant guide, it has what buyers want and what buyers need, what buyers value, and the same for sellers, what sellers want and what sellers value. And what you're doing is you're working on your personal proposition to meet those wants and needs. So if you could come up with 2 or 3, actually, you know, eventually you'll work on more. And then when we come back, we're going to do a sharing on what we're doing.
Okay, got it. Thank
All
you.
righty. You're welcome.
Hey, Carol, was that in the
Yes.
toolkit that you sent? Okay, because mine only goes so far. It only,
Are you in the participant guide?
yeah,
Hold on a
there's
minute.
only, let me see here, 8, 9 pages.
Okay, and you don't have the, it doesn't have in there the okay, hold on a minute. Let me
Let's see,
pull that up.
Okay,
Let me just pull that up.
Yeah, I cannot find the participants also. Where can I find that?
Hold on, let me see where it is.
Okay, I thought it was like in the Ignite thing.
It is in the Ignite. It should be in there unless it's only in my part. Let me look.
Okay.
Actually, I was just testing you to see if you actually were paying attention to me, guys. And you had your participant guide.
okay, there's another toolkit.
Okay, if you look at page 6, you go into the
Elemental?
participant guide. Not an elemental, the other one. If you go to,
Is it in the
link,
student file?
what is it?
Is it in the student file in the Ignite?
Yes, and then you go to the participant resources. And you open up number 6, deliver your value proposition. And if you
Mine says
scroll,
resources.
down to page 6, it doesn't have a chart. It actually has what buyers want and what buyers value. And then there's a place for you to fill out your skills.
See, I have the Ignite, oh, it says Spark 2. That shows, I guess that's just the lead generation.
No. You know
The
what? Let me get on
toolkit-
here. Let me do this. Let me share the screen and I'm going to show you where to go. All right?
Okay.
So let me see.
Real estate.
Can everybody see this one
Mm-hmm.
that I'm scrolling through? Okay. So this is, I went into the Spark. Let me show you how I got there.
Oh, see, I don't have Sparks. Okay.
Okay, hold on one second. I'm gonna move you guys over because you're too big across my, okay. So you can see this now, right?
Uh-huh.
Can you see what I'm sharing now? Okay. So
Yeah.
what I did is I go into Ignite 2.0 Lab. You have that. That's the link you have, right?
Okay. I don't know that I have a link. I got files sent.
Okay. You may not have the link. You may have to go. You have to go into my KW, Terry.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
You know what I have is a power session, not Spark.
You're in the old one.
Yeah, I guess that's old.
Yes, that's the old one.
Okay, so where can I get the newer one?
Okay. If you go into my KW, let's see. I have this link. Go into Connect. Are you in my KW Connect?
Yeah.
Okay, up at the top where it says upload, put Ignite 2.0.
My internet's slow.
And your screen should come up like this.
I do not have that. I don't have the Ignite 2.0 lab. It just say Ignite.
Okay. Then, let me see. Can you share your screen?
My screen?
Yes.
Can you see it?
Okay. I can see it.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the old version.
Okay.
So go up at the top, scroll up to the top,
Uh-huh.
and see where it says upload, and see that little hourglass?
Uh-huh.
Type in don't click on upload, click on the hourglass. No, go back to see where it says upload. There's a little search button. See that?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, click there.
Uh-huh.
Type in Ignite 2.0. And then search. Okay, so now go in there, go down student resources. See the link? Go down more, go down more. Go up a little bit. Up a little bit more.
This one?
Yeah,
You want me to click that one?
yes, please. Save that link. Bookmark that link.
Which one?
You need to go to the top. See where the star is? That's your link for all your
Okay,
paperwork
all
for
this
here.
here.
Okay?
Oh, got it.
And then you have your Ignite toolkit. Okay, now open up Deliver Your Value Proposition
All right.
and go down to page 6. There you
Okay.
go. All right, unshare your screen, honey.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm still working. My internet is terrible today.
I can tell because you keep fading in and out.
It's this lovely satellite internet.
Oh, yeah, that's a killer. Where are you?
Yeah. I'm just outside of, where'd you go? Of Cambridge.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute. Now I lost you. Totally.
That's all right.
Great.
I've lost me totally too sometimes.
Oh my gosh. There we go. Yeah. So we're just outside of the line of getting even just regular internet, but
Yeah, I
so
hear you.
it is what it is. I was
It's
going to
hard.
switch to cellular, but now I'm in the system. I got to wait for a while, but I mean, I know what my value would be to a buyer. I have a hard time with sellers
Okay.
because I know me as a person. You know, I've bought and sold almost every 3 years of my whole adult life and sold most of it myself because I don't want to give up that percent. So that's where I really have to come up with, you know, why
Okay.
do I have value?
And that's exactly right. So it's something that you need to work on, but you can't sell what you don't believe.
Right.
So
Right.
you really need to work on the seller's value. Do you have the manual with the sellers?
If that came in the toolkit, then I do.
Not in the toolkit. It comes in the participant resources.
I'll have to, when that comes up, I'll have to get on to Ignite 2.0 Lab and download all that.
Yep. Yep. Because
And
that
do
has the
that.
questions and that'll help you work your way through it.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's the biggie for me.
Okay. Yeah. So if you can get in there now, that's fine. You still got 20 minutes.
Okay.
All
I
right.
shall try here. All righty.
We're all learning this together.
I tell you.
Some days it works better than others.
That's very true. And I know there's still glitches and all kinds of things happening, and it's just what it is. Hey, I keep losing.
You find it?
Still working. I'll let you know.
Okay. Do you want to share your screen and I'll walk you right through it if you're in my KW?
Okay. How do I share my screen with you? Oops.
Up at the top, it should, or at the bottom, it should say share screen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Do you see it?
See you. I don't think you share the screen. When it pops up, you have to pick on what you're sharing to me. Your my KW.
Okay. Hang on. It keeps flipping you. It's like I have two desktop open.
And it will look like that. So if you go into your
like
desktop.
it flips sideways.
Oh no, that's your system.
Right. That's what I'm stuck at, and I don't know how to get rid of that. Let me get out of Chrome there. Bring you back. Because every time I bring Chrome up, it flips you off. Okay.
It's
All
funny
right.
because when your internet slows down and like if you're blinking your eyes, it makes you look like you're sleeping looking at me.
I love it. And
As
see,
long as
you
we're all
look
still
fine.
laughing, we're good.
You look fine. I mean, you've stayed the whole time. Wait, why do I have a desktop one? Oh, hang on. There we go. Will I be able to? Oh, I have to quit Zoom in order to.
No, you shouldn't have to because you need to be in Zoom to share your screen.
I know, but I think because I have a privacy thing up, in order to shut that privacy thing off.
Oh, okay.
Everything. So can I jump back in on the
I
Zoom
don't
or no?
know. I don't know. We better not
Do
have you
it.
do that. We better
Yeah,
not have
I'll
you
do it
that.
after. I'll
Okay.
find it.
Let me
Making
see
a
if I
note.
can do a screenshot and email it to you. See if I can do that.
No. And that'll download everything, all that.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that right afterwards today.
And then if you have trouble, just text me and then I'll walk you through. We'll do a one-on-one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, when you have time, have you had a chance to look at schedule for a call?
I will.
Okay.
I have 3 calls after this. So
Okay.
I'll get you, because what I want to do is I'm going to send you the commitment for the coaching, what it is. I'll send you the manual that we use just so that we can do all that kind of stuff. And then I'll send you the time and see if it's good for you. If not, just send me back an alternate time. So that, because I do it like in half-hour increments. But
Okay.
usually my first one runs a little bit longer. But I want to, these classes are great and I'm getting to see everybody and I'm getting to feel personality, but I like one-on-one too, because you
Yeah.
can say things to
We're all
me and
different.
vice versa. Huh?
Yeah. And what you said earlier is we're all different because we all
Yes.
come from different backgrounds and experiences. And
Exactly. And that's
I know
why,
no, go
like
ahead.
when you started talking, like I could hear that you have some experience in this stuff. So did you sell in California?
Maryland, California, Colorado, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
I've moved all over, not intentionally, but just happened. And then my boyfriend and we like rehabbing houses. We just do. I love to take something that is just atrocious and falling apart and just, instill love back into it and see it a home again.
Awesome.
So yeah, we've done a lot of those things. So, and I've always said, and I know in Colorado, when I just sold my home, I had a acquaintance, I'll call him that because I don't consider him a friend. And sadly, he was a Keller Williams. Just hound me about listing my house. And I said, I appreciate the offer. I understand, but I'm going to do this on my own. I've done it,
Right.
And wow, I was really disappointed.
The other side came out, huh?
Oh my goodness. Well, this is our living and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, So then I found a company online. I think it's called US Realty or usrealty.com. You can pay them $250 and you take all your own pictures, write up everything, and they'll put it on the MLS for you.
Right.
Because Colorado, an agent has to represent you if you're on the MLS.
Correct.
He just said, you do all the work, but the negotiation has to go through me.
Okay.
So it made my life simple as a for sale by owner.
So he negotiated for $250?
Yeah, I know, crazy. He did nothing. I did all the appointments. So basically, if you gave me an offer, it had to go through his desk. His desk then passed it on to me. He did advise me on a couple things because she dropped the price and wanted a seller concession. And I was like, are you joking me?
Right.
So he's like, give her the concession, raise your price. She's still getting her money, so he did give advice, but
here's the thing. He absolutely has no value proposal. Okay.
Right.
So I gotta flip your thinking here. So he didn't really give any value proposal.
As a for sale by owner, he got me on the MLS. He dealt with my contract issues.
But again,
which is really what I need.
He's that kind of person, to me, is really everything that a realtor is not. Okay?
Right.
And he undersells our services. And just from a business standpoint, he has a liability that he's putting himself out there for. A liability when he's giving you how to negotiate and things like that. And he is selling that for $250. Meanwhile, he has to pay his annual board dues as a broker to maintain his broker reciprocity. He has to pay E&O insurance, because what happens if that buyer came back and sued?
Right.
Okay, so
He must
you
do
technically-
a lot of business for a little price.
Right, but again, he's doing that. A lot of business tells me to me that's more exposure. That's a lot of exposure.
It is. It
Okay,
is.
so $250. If he does 10, that's $2,500 in a month
Right. It's
that
not
closes. It's not much money. It's
No.
not much money. Not for the
I'm
exposure.
assuming he sells real estate also, and this is just a side gig. That
I
would
don't
be
know.
my impression.
I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of times you'll have builders negotiate with an agent, and they'll take it for a very low side on the listing side, just to have, their inventory inflated, and they see that they would get the leads off it and things like that. But,
Right.
there's been a lot of different companies that come up like that over the years, help you sell all kinds of things, and they're no longer here. And I've been reading about EXP and all these virtual offices and all.
Yeah, I've heard of
A lot of them are laying people off. What is it?
Yeah, that's true. I've heard of EXP too. Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
Redfin just laid off a bunch of
Redfin just
realtors.
laid off. So all these companies that were creating these new models of virtual, and also like Redfin, they actually paid their agents like so much an hour, and you were a showing agent. So all you did was you would show it. And then there was another agent that would do the negotiations. And then there was another agent that handled the other thing. Then they had support staff that did the processing of the file. But in the end of it, it's not working, because it's just like Quicken Loans. You talk to somebody on the phone about a mortgage, and then it moves to the next system. You're talking to like 20 different people throughout the process. And as a realtor, when I see a Quicken Loan kind of pre-approval, something internet, tech, something like that, I always talk to my sellers and I say, look, here's the concerns. These people are not local. They do not know our local appraisers. They do not know exactly the way we do things locally. All they do is they look up in the book and how Delaware does it with attorneys. And then if they don't process this loan properly, or the buyer isn't real savvy on how to get their paperwork over with scanning and things like that, we won't have a deal. And we have nobody to go to about it, because they won't talk to anybody outside of the buyer. And a lot of times, I have had counters go back and say, we want you to be at the very least, because you can't make them go with another lender, but at the very least, we want you to be pre-approved by one of the local lenders.
Absolutely, yeah.
In a multiple bid situation, that's one of the terms why the offers were not accepted, because there was just no confidence in that pre-approval. So there's always people trying to reinvent the wheel, and
absolutely.
And there's always people. You're a different animal because you have a working knowledge of things, and I can see that. And I'm the same way. I mean, I do my own taxes, because by the time I prepare everything to give to the accountant, it charged me $1,500, and he didn't even come up with
the number.
Yeah, and he's the one that didn't even come up with one of the things. He says, "Oh, that was a good idea. That is a deduction." We're like, okay, so what the hell am I doing this for? So, so I do my own taxes. So I am a lot like you. I do almost all my things myself. But I truly, truly believe in this real estate industry, and I truly believe in good realtors. And one of the things was back years and years ago, when my husband first came in the business, we owned properties down in Wildwood, and we were selling one of them, and he was new, and we had a couple, so we had listings that were somebody else's on the same street. So I said, I'll sit the one. I said, I think you should sit down there. I said, and we need to get an agent to sit hours. And he says, why? I said, because I said, you're too emotionally involved. This is our property, and you are not going to be able to take the feedback properly, and you're not going to be able to negotiate without your own benefit clouding the negotiations. Well, he sat there, and this one couple came in, and this was a 6-unit property. So we had done each apartment in there, but if you know anything about Wildwood, New Jersey, it is a party town for, you know, it's like sort of like Dewey Beach, and you have a lot of college kids that come and they work, people, a lot of kids from Ireland and things like that. So it's a system. Easter time, you redo your units to make them nice and presentable. They rent them, and come September, you got to replace all the bedding, and you got to replace this, and you got to replace all that, and probably get a lot more things done. So he had done a lot. We had put new bathrooms in and things like that. Well, this one couple came through, and they said, and we had, you know, a really good rental income from it that was documentable. So this one couple came and said, well, you know, we really wanted something that is in better condition and, you know, doesn't, you know, need work and stuff like that. Well, he called me when they left, and he goes, they're coming down to see your open house, but, you know, they were really insulting. And I said, exactly what I told you is exactly what just happened. Took it personally because you just went off and told them, listen, everything that you've done, and you and I know that, but they're buyers,
Right.
and all they're seeing is what they see now. And
Right.
if you were talking and you had to relay it to the seller, you would relay it in a different way. You wouldn't be so upset. You wouldn't feel so personally insulted.
Right. Right.
He never sat another one of our own properties. And what I always did is when we sold our own properties, I would always get one of the agents in our office to negotiate it for me. You know, look, you talk to the other agent, let me talk to you, and then I would, you know, make arrangement, pay them something for their time to do it. Because once it's negotiated, it's fine. But the negotiations
Yeah, that's true.
should never be emotional. And just like I could see your face when you said, yeah, this buyer came in and they wanted to knock my price down and get concession.
I'm emotional.
Right. See, you got emotional, and what happened? The professional licensed person said to you, look, bump up the price, they'll get their concession, you'll get what you want, and the bottom line's the same. But you couldn't see that end of the rainbow.
Not in the beginning.
Okay?
Right.
Because you are emotionally involved. So now that I've just talked to you about that, do you see one of your values?
No.
Okay. One of your values is you are going to help the seller not have an emotional involvement in the negotiations. You are going to provide professional experience and suggestions to help them to remove the emotions out of selling their property.
That is a good one.
Okay?
Okay. I'm writing this down. Yeah.
Carol, when you did your cap rate in Wildwood, how many rentable weeks were you using?
I basically used it we only did seasonal. I didn't do weeks. It was all seasonal. So I used it from May, Memorial Weekend. They usually checked in, and they checked out Labor Day.
Is that 16 weeks?
I don't even know. Whatever it came out to be, I didn't really work the numbers that well, but because it was seasonal, the weeks didn't matter to me. They paid up front. And if they decided they quit their jobs and they left in August, then that's fine. Then I had a unit that I didn't have to worry about.
That's funny. When I mentioned Wildwood to you before, you didn't say anything about your involvement there.
Yeah.
But
Well, sometimes I like to forget about it.
I did the sale on the renovation of the Long Beach Hotel.
Wow.
And I did the acquisition of the Colson Lumber Yard to commercial and residential, and a few smaller jobs down there.
Well, mine was, we had a 6-unit property. We retained one for ourselves. Our kids were all young. It was the beginning that we got into real estate in New Jersey, and that was our first venture. And I can tell you, it was It was an experience.
Which part of Wildwood was that in?
Taylor Avenue, one street off of Rio Grande, right at New Jersey,
That-
right behind Mr. D's.
That's a real party area.
Yeah, it was.
The first house that we stayed in Wildwood as kids didn't even have a front door.
No, ours was all good, but it's just, and back then, this is back in the 80s, that wasn't as much like, not like Young Avenue and things like that. That street that we were on was all owner occupied, except for whatever they
Right.
rented out.
We were on Garfield, and it
Oh,
was
okay.
funny because the police would come over. This was in the 70s, and they would say, "All right, anybody here who drove, give us your keys. You can come and get them from the police station on Sunday." And
Yeah.
and that's the way that they handled it down there.
Well, what
That's
they
when
did,
the north.
yeah, what they were
That's when the
doing,
North Bridge was still
yeah,
wooden. Go
what
ahead.
they did to us was the city of Wildwood they passed an ordinance, and if you had more than 2 calls to your building, you got called into court, and they would take away your occupancy agreement if they felt that you weren't managing properly. And, you know, I had an argument about that because somebody that has 1 or 2 units versus somebody that has 6 units, it's only a natural numbers, you're going to have more calls. And the only time I ever called was when they had more people in the unit and I wanted them out. And then it made me like, okay, well, I'm not going to call. But at the time we had 2 Dobermans. So I would just take the Dobermans and stand at the bottom of the door and say, I need everybody out of there unless that your name is on the lease or the dog and I are coming up. Or give me $25 for your each night if you're staying. So I would collect money or they would leave. So, you know, that was the world. All right, it's 12 o'clock. Everybody back?
Yep.
I know with the conversation you were probably hearing over unless you muted everything, but we learned some things, didn't we, Terry?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And Aka found out where she can go and get her participant guide. So we were still working during this thing. And Jeff and I reminisced about Wildwood days.
Yes, thank you. If we didn't go through this, I'm not gonna know if my Ignite it's expired already. I don't know.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And what happened was, and Eka, to your defense, we've already done 6 of Ignite Spark, but when I started the 2 before that, it was the other link that you had because the Spark had not been released yet. So when Spark got released, I taught Monday, Tuesday, Spark got released. So I did this Wednesday under the old one, and then I switched it on to the new one and sent the new links out.
Got it.
So
Okay. Yeah, because I used it before on the study, and then we match.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why I could not find it.
Hey, I move quick. Everybody's got to keep up with me.
Yeah, I think we have another class for command class, right? For DocuSign after this?
Yes, at 1 o'clock you're going to do, and I was just going to bring that up. I want everybody to go to DocuSign at 1 o'clock. So I want to get you off so that you have some downtime away from the computer. I don't know about you, but the days that I teach Ignite and then I have my one-on-one Zooms, by the end of the day, my eyes are killing me and I got such a pounding headache. So I want to try to get you off, but it's really important that you attend the command class on DocuSign because that's going to work you through from a contact to an opportunity to how to get your paperwork for DocuSign. So it's very, very important that you attend.
Is that the only class? Is that the only class at 1 o'clock?
No, they do them every week. If you got to just keep looking at them, okay? So they're doing them regularly.
Yeah, Terry, that one's every Wednesday at 1 right now.
That Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I signed up today too.
Okay. A couple other housekeeping things. I'm going to continue when we are allowed to get back into the office. The goal is to have Ignite once a quarter. So I hope you all see the value of this. And it is not only for new agents, it's for agents that have been in the business and just want to recharge. It's for agents that maybe transfer agents from other offices in the area that have a couple years under their belts, but they don't really know the KW things. And I am not really doing, I mean, this is a KW program, but as you can see, I expand on it with other things that I bring into it. So if you feel the need and you want to jump on it when this all gets completed, and this is almost done. We have 3 more classes after this one, I think it is. I'll have to check. I think there's 10, probably 4 more classes after this. So after this is done, we're going to take a week off, and then we're going to come back and do the elementals. And the elementals, the first part of it is about your lead gen and building your base and what to do. The elementals is going to get more into specifics of sellers, buyers, running your business, all that kind of stuff. And I am working with our ALCs in the company and a couple other people that I'm going to be reaching out to and asking them to help me in teaching some of these classes, because doing this twice a week and then trying to get everybody into their one-on-one coaching calls and then doing another coaching class once a week that we're going to be doing, it gets to be too much that I'm not doing enough one-on-ones. Okay, so with that being said, I wanted to do let's see, Friday I found some new scripts, guys, some awesome scripts, and something that has handling objections. It's like 140 objections. It's pages and pages of objections. So I was thinking of, I know we did farming on last Friday, and I was wondering how many of you would be interested on keeping 10 o'clock on Fridays open for a group coaching call, which we will decide on different topics as we go.
I mean,
so what I'm
this
thinking,
Friday, I can do this Friday. I'm not sure next Friday yet.
okay, so we'll make it on Friday. I'm going to make it on Fridays at 10. So the topic for this Friday coming up, we are going to do some role-playing scripts and handling objections. Okay,
that sounds good.
So,
yes.
Okay, so now that you're working on your value propositions, this is what's going to help for us to work with these objections. So your value propositions are going to be the answers to some of the objections that we work with on Friday. And I'm going to try something new, because there is what is called meeting rooms in Zoom. And I might be, if I don't know how technology it will work for me, but I'm going to see, and maybe I can break you guys up into like maybe 3 in a room, which might be 2 people doing it and 1 person sort of writing down some ideas, and then we'll move on to the next. So that's another thing I'm going to try to do for you.
Oh, is that like a role play thing?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
We will get that. Otherwise, we're going to role play with 15 of us. I'm going to pick 2 of you and do it at a time.
Right.
So for those people that want a little bit less audience. Okay. I just got something that Tuesday command is at 9 and Wednesday's at 1. So next week, if you want to jump on any command classes, it would be Tuesday at 9 o'clock or Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And there are different topics. If you look at your intranet, you'll see that. Okay. Thank you, Becky. All right. So I'm not sharing any screen yet, right?
No.
Let me get to that. So now I gotta see where I can put you up. Okay, can you see the screen that says what buyers want?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Somehow my settings got changed because I moved them all around. Hold on a minute. This is really afraid. Now I see it. Okay, so if I just go down the line, I'm not showing any partiality and there's no teacher's pet. How's that? So I am going to start with Pam and Siri. All right. So Pam, if you can start and give me your value proposition for buyers.
Okay. Now this may be something that I shouldn't have put down, but I said that one of my values that I was born and raised in Sussex County, Delaware, and have lived here all my life. I know the area very well.
An excellent value.
I'm sorry?
That's excellent.
Okay. Then I can help them find the area they would like. So that was my first choice. Do I go on?
Yeah, if you have another one, that's good.
Well, I put that I will help them in everything that I can, or I will put, yeah, let me read what I was put here. Help you find from start to finish your dream home. And I don't know whether that was good or not, but I always think of someone buying a home as their dream home.
And you know what? I think that's good, but I think I want to be more specific. Okay.
Right.
There's a lot of layout, there's a lot of interpretation on that because your idea of helping them start to finish may not specifically be their idea.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And as we go down each one, the answers are going to be different as we go. If you have the same one, that's fine. But I'm going to help you guys critique this and put your mindset. And then what I want you to do is to please have if you could just shoot me an email and say my buyer's value proposition and then my seller's value proposition. And then when we do our one-on-ones, I will have that and able to work with you and engage and expand that. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Siri, your turn.
Okay, so I kind of did two I guess a lot of them kind of carry over for both of them, for both buyer and seller. But you know, just my personality in general, I think I just easily talking to people on both sides, and I'm very receptive to what people have to say as well. You know, I'm good at listening and trying to communicate back and forth. And so I think one of the strengths there is it just helps to really build a trustworthy relationship. And, you know, and I think that trust and that open lines of communication, I think are one of the things I can offer. And I'm really not easily intimidated. So, you know, as far as like the buyer side goes, you know, I'm not afraid to ask for a sale. You know, not a lot of things really intimidate me. And that's, you know, kind of on the same way from the seller perspective. You know, I can stand up for a seller very easily as well and trying to protect their values and not be pushed down and stuff from, you know, a lower offer. So I think those are not necessarily specific to one area or the other, but I think kind of encompass what I think what some of my biggest strengths are.
I agree 100%. Okay. And like not easily intimidated with sellers and buyers, that strengthens your negotiating powers. So, and saying that you talk easily, I want you to focus on you listen well, and there will always be open lines of communication. You may not always hear what you want to hear from me, but you are going to hear what you need to hear from me for your transaction to get where it needs to go. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's usually one of the things I start out with, whether I'm coaching you guys or whether I would be talking to a buyer or to a seller, is you'll find the more and more you guys see me and talk to me, I shoot straight. Okay? I don't I don't think, it's not that I don't sugarcoat, but I'm not like wimpy and namby-pamby about things. You know, I'm going to say it how it is, and it may only be in my head how it is, but it depends on whose opinion matters most on this specific area, okay? I'm always open, like you said. I'm a great listener. I pick up on things. Like Terry, when you and I talk, do you see how quickly I could hone in on one of your strengths that you didn't even realize was a strength of yours? Okay, didn't even realize what one of your value proposition was going to be. So that's, again, getting back to coaching and what it is. My job is not to, there's a difference between coaching and training. I do both, and the training puts me in front of you guys, but the coaching is what's going to get you all to the next level. And that's what we want you to do from the company standpoint. Okay? Okay, great, Siri.
Thanks.
Terry? I know you have one strength.
Okay, I now have 2 strengths.
Good.
On the buyer side, I think, similar to Siri, I'm very personable. I can hear what your desires are as well as your needs. And one of my biggest strengths is I will search and find that property for you at, you know, the best price available, not at your top end. We'll try to stay off the top end, but, you know, their best price for them. As a seller, my newfound strength is that I will be able to negotiate without emotion for you or take the emotion out of your negotiations.
Exactly. I always say, and this is, again, I'm big on words. And when I talk to a seller, I refer to their property as the house, their property, things like that. When I talk to a buyer, I don't tell them I'm showing houses. I tell them I'm showing homes. Do you understand why I use the difference? With
Homes
sellers,
is more personal.
right. With sellers, I want them detaching from the house. I don't want them thinking of how many Thanksgivings I had here. I raised my family here. My kids are graduating and I'm moving, but they're emotionally still attached. And if I refer to it as home, I am reinforcing that mentality. I want them detaching as a seller. Because when somebody comes in and says, I can't wait to paint that kitchen, it's a horrible color, and that's sent back as a feedback from one of the agents, what do you think, how do you think that seller's going to react when it was their father that came and picked out that color and painted it, and their father's not here anymore? What do you think is going to happen?
Right.
And then we get an
They're gonna
offer
get
from
upset.
that buyer. That seller is already like, don't like that buyer. Okay, so I want to call it a house or a property, which is an undetached way to refer to it. And with the buyers, I want to create attachment. I want to create an emotional feeling when they go into a home and you see your family sitting here for Halloween. And you see the kids running down the street in this neighborhood trick-or-treating. And you see the horses out back. You know, whatever it is that creates the emotion for that buyer, create emotion for a buyer, create detachment and expectation of the future for the seller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
Eka.
Hey. Okay, I really, be honest, I'm not really good to describe things, especially
okay.
about myself, but I will try. Okay, and I think it's pretty much almost the same as Terry and Pam, and this is gonna be for both buyer and seller. That I've been live in Ocean City over 2 decades, and I want to be a local expert a real estate local expert for them, for both buyer and seller. And I want to taking care of my clients' needs to the highest level and through professionalism, and to help them to make the transaction is stress-free, and
Perfect.
and to handle all the process from the list to close and beyond.
Okay. So we'll make the transaction as stress-free as possible.
Correct, yes.
Okay, because we don't want to make them think that it's going to be stress-free, because I don't know one transaction that isn't, even if it's we're the only ones stressing. Okay. So
Yes.
what I'm hearing from you, from all of you so far, is you like people and you want to
Yes.
help people. Okay.
Correct.
That's another strength that each one of you have. You know, I like people and I like helping them realize their dreams and achieve their goals. Your goals become my goal. Okay.
Right.
I hope I'm not putting any of you on the spot, but even if I am, it's good for you because you're going to be on the spot when you do a presentation, right?
I know. Thank you.
Welcome. Alicia. Did you have to step away?
Oh, no, I was trying to unmute myself.
Okay.
I did mine for buyer. I did not do the seller yet. And I like to look at what clients are saying when they write their reviews, because it helps me to pull out what they feel was their best experience, and then me in turn communicate that value to others. That helps me, instead of trying to think of it at the top of my head. So I said that I have a strong reputation based on client feedback from reviews, that I take precision and care in helping clients find the exact property that meets their needs and wants. And that goes along with the part of the chart that said buyers value the agent helping them find the right property. For reputation, I said that I am a 5-star client rated agent. And there's some other points that I like people to know when they meet me, is that I'm trustworthy and that I have their best interest at heart throughout the process. That I'm an educator by trade, so my goal is to make sure that they're educated and that they understand things as we go through the process. So I explain to them that you will have many questions. They may be the same questions repeatedly, but you can continue to ask me those questions. There's a lot of moving parts to this. So I believe that my open communication is a strength. I am solution driven, so I usually don't call my client with a problem unless I have the solution first, and I'm calling them with the problem and the solution at the same time, and they can choose what solution works for them. And then I added what you just said, that I like people, because I really do. I love people, and I really love being a part of someone's dream coming true. I went into real estate because homeownership was a dream that I never thought I could attain. And when I did attain it, I immediately wanted to help other people. So.
Awesome. Awesome. And one of the things, this exercise, I see a lot of you are saying, I am this, and this helps me with this, with the clients. And that's what I want it to be. I don't want it to be I. I want it to be, this is my strength, and this strength will help you get to such and such. Because when I've seen agents do it, you know, when they stand up and they say, well, I've been in real estate this long, and I've done this, and I've sold X amount of houses, and I'm agent number 1, and I'm this, and I'm that. What buyers tend to hear when they hear that is, it's all about him. But how does that relate to how it helps me? And that's what I want you to be looking at when you're doing your value propositions, because I want this exercise, something that you're going to work on and we're going to work on together, and that actually becomes a part of your presentation, whether it's for the buyers, when you do a buyer presentation, when you start working with them and what you send to them, or whether it is for your sellers and it's in your listing presentation for you to go through these things. So we're going to fine tune this, but that's what this exercise is supposed to be getting. And one thing that you want to, how about agents that say, oh, I work for, and let's just say this, agents that go in and say, I work for Keller Williams, and Keller Williams is #1 in the Sussex County or in Maryland or wherever you want to use it. That has no relativity to the buyer or the seller until you give it relativity. And one of the relativity is, here are the numbers of Keller Williams, and we've sold the most homes in this area. And what that does for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that gives us the broadest database, and we have the most agents multiplied by the number of clients that they are working with to help move your home faster and to get you to where you want to be. So it's not, you don't just stop it, Keller Williams is #1. We have that, but that only strengthens what that does to help you make things better for the client. Okay? And experience and training, I want you guys to work on that, because that's another one of your strengths, that that you work for a company that is cutting edge and that is always on the edge of technology and is always trying to up our game. And what that means to you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that we are on the cutting edge. We are proactive in marketing your home, not reactive in following the lead. We are leading. Okay? Jeff, can I move on to you?
Sure. I may not have approached this in the way that it looks like we're doing it, but what I did on the buyers and the sellers side is I picked a topic, the topic of confidentiality, and I was stressing that. And the reason I came up with that was I had done a stint in South Philadelphia, and I think everything is exaggerated in South Philadelphia. You may get an offer on a property, and the next thing, their uncle in Sicklerville is calling them and telling them how much the offer they got. So it's a small world there in that respect. That's also why I felt I couldn't portray myself as an expert in that market, because there may be 6 generations of family living on the same street, and it's hard to be an expert in that situation. But the thing I stressed as value to the sellers and to the buyers was a reality pricing, up to a point where I would even take them to open houses of comparable properties for them to see what people were looking at for the money. And I think I gained their trust that way, because I even looked different. People in the neighborhood thought I was a federal agent walking around because they didn't recognize me. So it was difficult from the start, but that's what I am telling you.
Okay, great, Jeff. We're going to expand on that a little bit more on our one-on-one, because you have a lot of other strengths that you're not even playing into yet. Probably because it's just so natural, right? Okay, Garrett, it's your turn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Can't hear you, Garrett. No. Matter of fact, I lost you now. No. You there, Garrett? No, you're all kinds of garbled. Jeff, can you mute yours?
Did you say Jeff?
Yeah, would you mute yours down? Okay, thank you. Garrett, are you there?
Me yet?
Okay,
We're
I
back
think I
now?
can hear you good now. Okay, honey.
Yeah, sorry. I sit in the same room as my girlfriend and she's on meetings too.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard.
Um, trying to, you know, maximize the space.
I hear you.
It was working for the first few meetings, the AirPods were. I swear I had it going.
That's all right.
So going along with a lot of things that have already been said about just being a communicator, it's probably why most of us got into this in the first place. You know, jobs we've had in the past that make us better at that kind of thing. But I put down like access to information and access to expert insight. For me, being part of a group with a mentor, I can, you know, if I don't have the answers, I can find them easily. And it's also just, you know, being part of the largest brokerage in the country. I have all this info and technology at my fingertips, and I can figure out how to use most of it. I'm lucky to be on the younger side of things with the technology as far as that goes. I think I have an advantage in that regard. So I wrote that part down.
So what you're saying too is from your team and your affiliation with Keller Williams, it adds credibility
Yes.
to you. Okay.
Yes.
And that's, you know, a big thing is when an agent is working, they, you know, the people only see the one agent that they're working with. Just be able to tell them that you have a whole network of support behind you. They're not getting just you, that you have a whole network of support. You have, you know, your coach, you have me, you have Bridget, we have our, you know, people at the office. So the credibility that gives you is also something to be relayed as a strength in your business.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, be quiet now so she can do her meeting. What's her name?
Cecily.
Okay, tell Cecily to enjoy.
Great teacher. She's got some FaceTimes with her students today. It's
Awesome.
interesting to overhear it.
So she knows what I'm doing then.
Yeah. It's exactly the same.
Okay. All right, let me see who's next. Julie.
Hello.
Hello, Julie.
Oh, hello. Well, everyone has basically touched on everything that I had. But in a nutshell, I love people, and that's what brought me to real estate. I chose real estate as my, you know, career because of that. And you know, just to touch on what basically most other people have said is that you know, I love helping people find their, you know, my mother always wanted to be a what do you call it, a florist, because she always thought that bringing flowers, delivering flowers to somebody would be like one of the most joyous things. You know, think about it, it brings someone joy when you're delivering, you know, a bouquet of flowers. And I always thought of real estate as that when you're, you know, in a bigger context, that, you know, helping someone find their home, there's nothing, especially making it a good experience, you know, a positive experience. So I really, you know, think that we go out of our way to, you know, keep things at a smooth, to run as smooth as possible. Like Alicia had said, you know, if there's a way to fix it, if a problem comes up, be proactive and try and have a solution. You know, I think we're naturally like that. And for anyone that's new coming into this, if you like people, and I think we're all have the same type of personality, and hopefully you don't get hardened along the way with some of the hiccups that will eventually come, to, you know, keep it positive. And but the same thing with sellers. You know, I'm very honest with people. I try and do my homework, so that, listings are very difficult, and I find that I'm very picky about them. If I do my homework and I know a price, I'm firm and I'm honest with people, and you know, sometimes there's a little bit of negotiating with the seller what they want to have it listed as, but if it's, you know, totally out of my uh, belief that I can give them the best of me at that price, I usually will turn them down. I've only had to do that with, you know, 2 people, but in my career, but it is something that you should, you know, consider, you know, in your honesty, because that is the honest part of being a listing agent too. So,
And you know what, Julie, what something that you said really came to fruition is when you stop getting up in the morning and really looking forward to being in real estate is when you need to rethink things, because the longer you're in the business, I'm not saying that there's not a deal that you're pulling your hair out, but once they go to closing, that's when you feel accomplished and you learn. The hardest deals are the ones you learn from. The easy ones, you don't learn a whole lot. So I want you guys all, and this is why I say 5-10 years from now, I hope that you remember, you know, Carol gave me some of these ideas when I was brand new and didn't even really realize these things. And that's why I have the passion I do with you guys, and why I'm always looking to get you the best things and stuff, is because your success is my success. And with that, the sellers reaching their goal is your goal, and the same with buyers. So I think it all flies all the way down, okay? And I can't say enough how much each one of you are important to me and your success is. Jackie. You still there, Jackie? Michael?
Okay, so being very new to this, I'm trying to keep that in a positive light. So for me, right now, I'm hungry. So I have the ability to make any buyer or seller client that I may take on. I have the ability to make them my number one customer. You know, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm willing to admit, you know, when I don't know something. But I'm willing to go find the answer. I come from a different, you know, different perspective, because I'm coming out, you know, from outside of real estate. So I feel like I can relate to maybe a new buyer or even someone who's selling their first home. You know, I feel like I would be able to relate with someone just from, you know, not being in real estate and coming into it fresh. We'd be able to connect. I feel like that would be of value as well, rather than talking to someone, you know, creating a conversation where there's some back and forth where you can learn from each other.
Exactly. You said something, Michael, that was really, to me, about being hungry. You have an energy and a dedication to this new career that you've chosen.
Right.
So you can bring that energy and dedication to your clients, because you need each and every one of them. They're not just another client to you. And that is going to come across with them. With that being said, we are always, you'll hear me talk about keep your circles balanced and set your boundaries, because if you know your value, some people will take as much as they can take and wear you out. So you want to give them that energy and that dedication. You don't want to answer the phone at 11 o'clock at night unless it's about something. And even if it is about a deal, if it's a deal that's closing at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, what can you do about a deal that's closing Monday morning?
Not much.
There's not a whole lot. So you're going to answer it. You call them, you know, Sunday morning and things like that. But make sure that a lot of agents burn out because they're trying so hard, but they're not trying smart. I don't see that happening with you. The other thing you said is you don't know everything, but you know you have people to go to get the answers. And the moment any one of us thinks they know everything is the moment that they're really in a bad way. Because I don't think I know everything. I learn every day. I prepare for every single one of these classes. I do searches and trying to find different ways and different things to send to you. Not to say that I don't have a whole archive of stuff that I can pull on and look at it, but some of it is outdated, you know, some of it, you know, the technology we have now is not around. Who ever heard of Zoom a couple years ago and doing these kind of meetings? So you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine, and we're going to get you moving and get you going. So
Just lost a buyer today.
did you?
Yeah, they were they were last week or earlier this week. They were ready to make an offer, and then emailed me today and said that they're going to wait another year now.
Okay. And what was their reason?
They don't feel like they're first-time home buyers. They don't feel like they're fully prepared to take on a mortgage and that
Okay.
responsibility.
So are they renting?
Yes, and they're going to
And how
renew
much
their
is-
lease.
How much is their rent?
The rent is $1,200 a month.
How much was their new mortgage payment going to be?
The mortgage payment would have came in around $1,150.
Okay. So
But I
now,
think one of the things they, you know, when we did, you know, we were looking at houses, one of the things that concerned them was older appliances. You know, with this house, it would have, they may have had to replace the washer and dryer. They didn't know how they would do that. It was just, I think they, you know, I tried to, you know, calm their nerves and settle them down, but then I got that, I mean, I even talked to her last night and
Michael, you faded out. You muted yourself, Mike.
sorry.
You there?
I'm going, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I don't know what happened. I think my internet's slow. Anyway, I just, you know, I don't know that they don't think they're ready at this time. So,
I think a lot of things. I think, first of all, first-time home buyers do get scared and they get a lot of feedback from their family. Are you really ready? Maybe they're using their last dollar to buy. And
Right.
add in this coronavirus
mhm.
where everybody's a little skittish. I can see that happening. So I would stay in touch with them. Maybe,
Right.
you know, they can get out of their lease early if the market turns around and things happen. It sounds like you've done everything you can to try to keep them engaged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I mean, because you never want to be that pushy car salesperson.
Right.
And in all honesty, if they're using all their last money, yes, the monthly bill is the same, but there is home maintenance that is required. They don't just call up and say, my washer and dryer's not working, and have somebody deliver one as if they're
Right.
renting.
I think that was the thing that really changed their mind. The house they really liked, they were going to have to replace the washer and dryer. And I think they got them thinking about what could happen, you know, if something else goes out, the furnace goes out, the water heater goes
Right.
out. So,
Right. And you know, there is a home warranty for that stuff, right?
yes, and this house actually came with a 1-year warranty from the sellers.
Okay. So then they should have had some kind of safety net on that, but I guess that wasn't enough for them.
I guess not. Unfortunately.
That's all right. You know what? You have someone in your database that's strong, work them,
Right.
stay in touch, be their go-to person, and just stay in touch with them, because their minds could change just as quickly as it changed this way this time. A couple months
Right.
from now, it could change something completely. Their jobs could change. So many things could happen.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to be on them.
Okay. I know you will. Thanks, Mike. All right,
Thank
Jackie,
you.
your turn.
Okay. All right. So I was in the restroom. I'm sorry.
No problem.
I said that my personality, I'm a good listener, I'm positive, I'm a people pleaser. I did follow up with Pam. I want to help someone get their dream home.
Mhm.
But I did I can't remember who said it, but someone said search within the budget. I like that.
Right.
And again, I'm brand new. I'm a go-getter, and I'm enthusiastic that this is my new career.
That's awesome. And you're going to be good on this. We're going to get these strengths even more fine-tuned for you.
Okay, great.
Okay. And that's what these strengths that you are all giving me, this has nothing to do with your real estate license. This has to do with your personality and your interaction and how you respond to people. Is everybody seeing that flow? And then what we do is we take those strengths and we work on them to have them relate to the real estate business. Nancy.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I would say on both sides, my strength is that I will listen. I know the area. I've been vacationing here for 30 years, and I've been a full-time resident for 5. So I feel like I know the area, but it's so diverse. I need to listen to what the buyers are looking for. You know, do they want something for a weekend place? Do they have the vision that they'll end up here full-time? You know, are they empty nesters? I think you really need to get a picture for how a family is going to live to be the best help to help them find a place. And that you have to listen to learn that.
Yeah.
And
perfect.
then same thing on the seller side. I feel like you mentioned this earlier, help them detach and depersonalize. You know, I downsized from a big old house back in Northern Virginia, and I'm living in a 1,500 square foot beach house. So I feel like I can help people winnow down to what's important. What do you really need? Let's envision yourself in your new life. You know, you're done with this. Let's help you turn it into a place someone else wants to buy. You know, it's served its purpose for you. Let's help you to move on to get where you want to be.
Yeah. And that's, you know, sometimes that's what happens. I've known a lot of sellers, older sellers, when the young family comes in, they will tend to even, I've seen them sell to a young family because they felt a personal feeling with them, even though it the offer may have been less than what somebody else offered. So sometimes, you know, the personality of the person flies through, and we have to be counselors, listeners, negotiators, and keep the deal and the transaction moving forward. So I think I reached everybody, right? Is there anybody I didn't reach? Okay. Well, guys, I'm going to go through this real quick because I told you I had to get you out of here a little bit of time. So who are your competitors? Here's my feeling on this. I don't worry about my competitors because I know I'm better. And if I'm not better, I need to know what I worry about my competitors as far as what they are doing. And sometimes if I see a great idea from them, some kind of post or something that they're doing, I take advantage, I take that and figure out how I can make that work in my business. Do I particularly worry about what they're doing? No. If they are getting a lot of listings in a particular area, I try to watch and monitor that, especially if they're trying to get into my farm area. But one thing that I always say is when you worry about your competitors, you're not worrying about your own business. And a lot of agents go in, and I've seen them do it on listing appointments, and their listing presentation is to beat up the competition instead of just saying what their strengths are. And can we all see why this is pretty much the last screen that we're going to talk about? Because I just went through all your value proposition, and you see all the things that you bring. Not one of you mentioned that you're worried about the competition. Not one of you mentioned that you don't know if you have what it takes. So I've always taught my agents, if you have to put somebody down to make yourself look good, then you have the problem. So you got to believe in yourselves. I believe in you. Your technology's here, and I'm scrolling through this because I want you to have a little bit of downtime before you get into this DocuSign class and command. your activity, create your value proposition. We've already touched on all that. Deliver value, distinguishing yourself. We already talked about how you're going to do that. We're going to work on it more one-on-one. You're going to create that stellar experience. And these kind of things are important. I'm not going to get into ahas because I think we kind of did our ahas just as we went through this, unless somebody has something that they want to add. Anybody? Okay. So now you have to keep going to keep your career going. 10 contacts, 10 conversations, 10 notes, 10 home previews. Everybody trying to stay on track with that. I'm going to start. Don't be surprised. You know how teachers show a pop quiz? Don't be surprised if I ask you to share your screen and open your command up for me. Just be prepared. Okay. Scripts. We talked about that. Friday, 10 o'clock, we're going to do our script class with objection handling. Okay. I'll send out an invite to everybody in the Zoom. Role play, we're going to do that on Friday. I tend to, I don't know if I talk a lot or you guys talk a lot, probably me. We tend to go through this. They want you to continue for another 3 hours doing script practice and your command and your classes. Also, I think this Friday, you know what? I got to check and see. I think 9 o'clock, they might be doing in Delaware compliance class for your, are they doing it, Siri? 9 o'clock?
Yeah, that's what I had just checked, actually. So it's 9 o'clock this Friday is the sales process.
Okay, that's important.
Till 12.
That's important. I'll defer to that one. Okay, we'll get another one scheduled because that usually takes a while, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, because Brad does an excellent job, goes through each part of the contract, how you're writing an offer, what you're doing, and it'll also relate to the DocuSign part of it. So I would say to you, go to the class prepared, even though I know it's on Zoom. I would print out a contract and all that before you go, so that as he's going through each thing, you can highlight certain words in the contract and you can write down the notes of the things that he's telling you. Because if you just sit and watch the Zoom meeting, you're not really going to have anything later to return to.
Yep.
Okay, so anybody that's going to attend that, I would print out your contract, which is technically an offer, any of the addendums, anything that is related to that, so that if he goes through it, and then if you have an addendum that he doesn't talk about and it's a question in your mind, then bring it up to him. But he is extremely thorough. All right. Okay. Anything else? Sun came out. Go do it, guys.
Thank
Great
you.
to see everybody. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank
All right,
you.
have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. You're awesome. Have a good day.
Thank you. Talk to y'all soon.
Good job, Carol. Good job. I
Oh,
recorded it. So as soon
you
as
really?
the recording is done, as soon as we end this,
Okay.
I'll send it to you, okay?
Oh, you're the best, honey.